Welcome back, Ceramics 1. In this video, I am going to go over the finishing detail work for your slab container project. So here we have a slab container that has been fully constructed. This is a student example that they're letting me do the demo with. So you can see this one. They've done a nice job connecting their walls and creating their lid. But no matter how good you are with clay, you're going to eventually get some little dings and squishes and parts of your box that aren't exactly like you want them to be. They're not quite as smooth, especially on the corners because you've been squishing them together and putting your securing coils on the inside. So we're going to look at a couple different techniques that you can use to make sure your corners are nice and square, as well as finishing off some details. So a couple things you're going to need. You'll need a fettling knife. If you can, one of the metal scrapers, maybe a modeling tool or two, one of the slab rolling spacers, which I'm going to use as a paddle, and of course the lovely rasp that we will use to do the edges. So first, a couple different techniques for the corners. One technique you can use is called paddling. Now, a lot of professional artists will have larger paddles or different shaped paddles for different things that they do. In the ceramics classroom, we're just going to use these rulers because they're wide enough. Don't use the 3/8 inch ones because those are just, they're too small and they're too thick and they don't respond well to the clay. So basically what you can do is you can take this and paddle it, and if you look here, you can kind of look down the end of the ruler and say, oh, well, this side is a little bit bigger, so I'm going to paddle, and as I paddle, I'm going to paddle this corner here so that I bend that corner in. So as I'm looking down this ruler, I can see that this area here is a little wider. So as I'm paddling, I'm trying to work on that edge as I paddle in. Now, while you're paddling, be gentle. You know, you're patting it like it's a good little kindergartner. Good job, good job. You're not like beating the heck out of it like it's a bad child, right? You want to make sure you're just gently paddling it, okay? I have seen kids who are like, oh, Mr. Lundgren said I should paddle it, and I come over and they're just like smacking the heck out of their box. Don't do that. You're going to ruin the corners, okay? So gently paddling, and you kind of switch back and forth, and you're slowly working the edges. Now, there are professional ceramic artists who do nothing more than paddle. They do all of their work with paddling. They shape it, they curve it. They can make things look like they've been thrown on the wheel by simply paddling because they're incredibly skilled with it. Okay, so it's something you should practice in level 1. You're going to use it again on pretty much every other project to shape and form your clay. So paddling is one of your first methods. Second method, you can use one of the flat metal ribs or metal scrapers, and if you gently draw it across the surface, just like we talked about when we did our slab compressing after we were done rolling our slab, you can very carefully edge each piece of this clay and force them into compliance in being exactly straight and cornering. So if you look a little closer, there's that nice edged corner. Now, with that metal smoothing action in mind, you can also use one of the fettling knives. And actually, it's kind of like I prefer this because I can use this edge and flatten it out. I'm kind of pressing it in, just like I'm frosting a cake or something. And what will happen is, as you're working this edge, forcing it in, you get like a little burr at the top. You can kind of see it there. And then what I'll do is I'll hold my knife horizontal, and I'll kind of scrape it against that burr. And I can take the little burr off, and then I can flatten that edge back down. And I kind of keep working like that from corner to corner, and I can get a very nice straight line and corner on that, okay? So there's two different methods. Now the third method is kind of for this situation. You can see right here, this is the remainder of the wall that's been kind of L-jointed onto the side, and I see this is a lot in level 1. And we don't want to see that at the end because I'm grading you that I don't see that, right? So what you can do is you can use one of these rasps, and what you do is this is a push rasp, so you're actually like carving away when you push away from you, and it's going to slowly carve down a nice flat surface. And if you look on the inside, it's kind of like a cheese grater or something. There's all the little pieces of cheese in there, and when you're done, they kind of look all crusty like this. Those can go into the dry clay bucket. They don't need to get recycled into the pug bucket, okay? But what that'll do for you is it'll take out those little blemishes of bumps and dots. So one way to kind of quickly get rid of all these blemishes is to kind of rasp over each surface and try to be as square and as even as you can. Then come back over with the knife, the fettling knife, and smooth those corners out. And if you kind of go around and you work one corner at a time, and you're careful and thoughtful about your working method, and you're paying attention to which corners you've done and which corners you need to do left, you'll be able to come up with something that's really quite nice in the end. So if I show you these corners now, you can see that corner is nice and square, and that other one I did is nice and square, whereas like this one here, it's all finger pocked and like chunky on the edges. Okay, so square, nice corners. Next, we're going to break it up into another section here because the video is getting a little long. So I'm going to talk about the next section in the other video about dealing with the top and the lid. Thanks for joining me with creating nice square edges and the 3 methods for getting those edges nice and cornered.